Family, I'm going to show you pictures. I'm going to show you pictures of Panama. Not just Panama City, because a lot of expats and experts sit in Panama City and they tell you about the entire country of Panama. I'm going to show you Colón, Boquete. I'm going to show you other cities, Valle de Anton. But my whole goal is Panama is a very, very nice place, but not for all places. And that's why I keep telling people there's no utopia. I'm going to show you all of Panama, and they're bad, they're good. And, people say people are really, really nice. That's cool until you leave Panama City and some of the smaller cities. But you go to Colón, it's not that way. It's not that way in Colón. So I'm just telling you right now that the part of Panama that they see may not be the part that you see once you make your mind up what you want to see. Because you're going to see some stuff here in this video that it ain't the way the rest of Panama is. It's just not. And as a country that is as rich as Panama is should be investing money in all of the infrastructure across the country. But that's my hope for every single country, not just Panama. But I hate when people get on here and they want clickbait and they tell you Panama is great. No, the part they went to is great. Let me show you some pictures of other areas that's not so great. Now, most of them are. But on the Caribbean side, it ain't nothing like the Pacific side unless you're in Bocas del Toro and some of these other cities. It's just not the same. So this is Panama and my thoughts as a whole. This is your old school traveler. I'm back again, and I'm going to give you my opinion of Panama from the top to the bottom. I'm going to tell you just the way it is, and you can either like it or not like it. I don't give a damn. But let me tell you about the people in Panama, the Panamanians. Let's talk about them first. They are real nice, but I lived in 9 different countries. I've yet to see anybody really not nice in any of those countries. Now, the only people that had a stoic and a look is just the people in the Nordic countries. But I understand why the Nordic countries aren't friendly. It's cold as hell. I got that. It's cold. If I lived in a cold place, I would not smile either. But the Panamanians, they really nice. But then again, I lived in Thailand. Some of the nicest people in the world. But you got to ask yourself, is there a different ulterior motive than what I'm seeing right now? Because see, when you go to countries and you are in a country where the economics is totally different or less than where you're from, they realize that. They realize that. So they may see you as their retirement plan. You might be just somebody they're being nice to because they got another goal. I'm not saying the Panamanians are like that, but don't let it slip your mind that they could be. Especially whenever you're doing a business transaction, money is always the number one goal. You want to save and they want to get it out of your hands. That's always the goal. So don't tell me, oh, I got a nice waiter. You damn right he's nice. He doing it because he wants a tip. It ain't like he's inviting you to his house. He's not going to invite you to his house. So the people are like I said, they real nice and friendly. They smile. But then again, you out there shopping, I be smiling too, knowing I'm getting your damn money from you. Yeah, so so you gotta not be naive and think that everybody nice because they want to be nice. No, you got some in your community that might be the case. But when you in a grocery store or a restaurant or shopping and spending money, people being nice is not new. It's when you leave out of there, are they nice? Yeah, because anytime you got money involved, one of the two are gonna be nicer than the other. I can promise you that, and you can figure out who's gonna be the nicest. Yeah. Now, the other thing about Panama that people tell me this all the time. Oh, I feel safe working. I feel very safe walking at night. I feel safe. Every place got crime. Every city got crime. You just might happen to be in the nicest part of the city, so you don't see what those who are not in the nicest part of the city sees. You may not see any of that. That is just the way it is. I mean, so you can't go there and say there's no crime. Every place, there's no utopia. That's what there's none of. There's no utopia. Every place got crime. And you know what? Some people say, well, the crime ain't bad. Be a victim of a crime. I don't care what it is. Be a victim. I've never been a victim, but I have talked to somebody who was a victim, and they didn't feel the way I felt. But then again, they were the victim. So you got to get a lot of crime is a crime of opportunity. Now, you don't give them an opportunity, there's no crime. But some places, bullets don't have no names on them. Bullets don't have a direction on them. No, bullets go straight. Whichever way you turn it, it goes that way. So I'm not going to sit here and say there's no crime in Panama. I would tell you this. There was no crime in the places I went to. Now, where you go to, I don't know. I can't say the same thing. But there's none where I went to. And I try and keep my life simple. I try and keep it just that way. But now, let's talk about the food. In Panama, the food is not very, very, very diverse. You're going to struggle if you're vegan. Hell, you might even die. Because, Panama got a lot of fruits and vegetables. A whole lot. But you go in a restaurant, you can't find a good salad. You just can't find a good salad. And it really, I love a good steakhouse. I don't mind saying that. But also I like a good salad to go with my steak. And you know what? Also, I like lots of options when it comes to vegetables. They don't give you a lot of options. And yet you go to a market, they sell all that stuff. But you know what though? If that restaurant is a meat eater's restaurant, meatitarian, I get all that. My whole thing was, y'all got all these fruits and vegetables. Why can't I get a damn decent salad? Why do y'all have vegan dishes? And you know what? Maybe vegan dishes is not where the money is. I totally understand that. I'm not saying you can't buy all your stuff and put it together. It's just that you would think in a country that's rich and got all the fruits and vegetables you want. And it could be also, they could be missing one or two things, and they say we're not going to sell that because we got to import it and we got to change our price, our price point. It could be that. But it's just that I tell people, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian or whatever you want to call it nowadays, you're going to struggle. You're going to eat shit you don't like if you want to live. Now, if you don't want to live, by all means, bleed yourself out, but it's not going to be like the States where they try and please every damn body. It's not like that at all. They please the majority. They have a certain crowd they want to please, and that's who they work toward. Me personally, I don't care if they got a vegan dish. I don't give a damn because I'm not going to eat it anyway. Because people who say, I don't want to eat meat, eat that. But yet you get everything you get is imitation meat. So I don't see a point of not eating the meat if I'm getting the imitation meat. If you want to, if you just can't afford Spam, you got problems. Because you know what? Put up the ham and eat Spam. That's what I would do if I want to save money. And but some people say, well, I just won't go anymore. They never miss you in a damn way. Restaurants don't go out of business because one person didn't come there. They go out of business because a lot of people didn't come there. Yeah, that's how it works. One person ain't gonna make a profit for you. No, you gotta have a bunch of them. Because one person don't even cover one cook's salary. I don't care if the cook making 50 cents. So I just want to give you a heads up that vegan, it might not be the place to eat at. Or for you, but don't think you're gonna go next door and get a vegan if you don't see one on the main street. No, the little country towns definitely ain't got no damn vegan food. They definitely ain't got no salads. Nope. They'll give you rice and other stuff, but they ain't gonna have what you think they're gonna have. So vegan, good luck. Let's talk about the food. People tell me, oh, Panama is cheap. La. For me, it's the same price. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if you go to where expats own the restaurant, that you're gonna pay U.S. prices. I don't mind that at all. Not that I go to with expats, but I'm talking about the Greeks, the Italians, the Chinese. I don't miss them too much. But anyway, you go to a place where a non-Panamanian owns that restaurant, that person is going to charge you stateside prices. And I'm going to tell you about me. It's not cheap to me because I don't go to fondas very often. I went to 2 fondas, and I tell you in my other videos, the lady tried to rip me off. But I'm the kind of person, when I go out to a restaurant, I'm going to a great steakhouse. And I'm going to pay what it costs. because I know when I leave my house, I can afford to go out. Now, some of y'all, shit no. Y'all need to just stay home and cook. When y'all talk about the prices and stuff, I don't know where y'all from. I'm from the Northeast. Ain't nothing cheap. But that's a way of life for us. But that's where, if you would have saved your money when you was 25 years old versus buying Nikes, you'd have money when you're 65 years old to buy the steak you want. You know, and so I'm going to tell you, a lot of y'all out there talking about, well, the food is cheap. The food is not cheap. It depends on your standards. If your standards are cheap, then the food is cheap. If your standards are not cheap, the food is not cheap. When I buy groceries, I'm going to Reba Smith and Ray Mercado's. That's where I'm going. Some of y'all say, what about Super 99? What about Extra and all this? That's where y'all get y'all stuff at. I'm going to have my Captain Crunch, and they're not going to sell that everywhere. I'm going to have certain things they're not going to sell everywhere. But I already know from being there for a whole month, Reba Smith has what I want. Ray Mercado has 95% of the stuff I want. That's where I'm going to shop at, so I'm not going to save money. You know, restaurants, I like certain things. I'm not big on going out to experiment with my money. No. A steakhouse has one thing I know they have: steaks. So that's where I'm going. Now, my wife, she likes fish. She likes good salmon, good fish. That's not cheap. That's not cheap no matter where we go. We've been around the world. That is not cheap. So I already know for me, I'm not going to save, money on food. I'm not going to save money on food. No. That's just not going to happen in my life. And so if your budget tells you you need to eat bologna and cheese, go buy some Spam. You cook an omelet, don't use ham, use Spam. It's simple as that. Change the way you eat and all that, and you can save money. Now, let's go to where I'm going to live at. I'm going to be somewhere near Costa del Este and all those places. That's where I'm going to be. If y'all sit there and say, I'm going to spend $500 a month, $800 a month, guess what? We ain't going to be neighbors. I'm never going to see you. I already know, because I'm going to leave the steakhouse and I'm going to Costa del Este. That's where I'm going to be at. If you see me, because you're in that area, if I see you, I'm lost. That's just how it's going to work. And people say, well, the infrastructure, the internet, I'm not connected to my phone 24 hours a day. I have lost my phone for 3 and 4 days at a time. And guess what? That was 3 or 4 days of peace. I mean, peace. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, that's just me. Some of y'all, no. Y'all got to be connected. Y'all got to be connected to somebody for some reason. I don't know why. Because not everybody you think loves you. I don't know why. So I live a nice lifestyle in the States. I ain't going out of the States to live a lesser lifestyle. No. Worst come to worst, my lifestyle going up. And maybe there's some way you can save some money. Now, let's talk about finances. A lot of y'all, I don't look at YouTube very often. I don't look at comments. I don't do none of that. Every now and then, I might read a comment. Somebody say, hey, I like your video, whatever. But you don't hear me begging y'all to be a Patreon member or subscribe even. You never heard me say that. I can care less if one of y'all subscribe or a billion of y'all subscribe. I don't do nothing for the money. I've had opportunities to make money off YouTube, but guess what? I retired to be independent of everything and everybody. And that is what I do. I'm good at retiring. Yes, I don't need no other money. Y'all finances was never right. The number one reason people leave Panama? Their money ain't right. They were broke as hell in the States, and somehow they thought they were going to be rich in Panama. No, something is wrong with your mentality if you think that. If you was poor in the States, get over it. You're going to be poor here. It's just going to take a little longer before you wake up and say, I'm poor. If you sitting there and you can't afford $2,000 to $3,000 a month easily, you got problems. Now, it ain't my fault that you sit there and got married 3 or 4 times. You bought 500 pair of Nikes over your lifetime. While you was buying Nikes at $300 a pair or $200 a pair, that same money I was investing for 45 years. Same money. Who's winning now? And I don't feel sorry for people who are poor. at least Americans or Canadians, because guess what? You don't have to be. You choose that path 45 years ago. I choose not to be. As a federal retiree with 100% disability from VA and with Social Security and with investments, I'm living my life. And, if you go to Panama and you leave because you're broke, you leaving a legacy to your kids and your grandkids. Don't do what I did. That's the legacy. I'm sure they got it all figured out because, a lot of people want to buy clothes and they got to match. No. My goal in life was to have clean clothes. I always had those. And you know what? Don't nobody give a damn how you look. The people you think loves you, if they love you, they ain't going to say, hey, granddad, your jeans got a hole in them. You get the hell out of my house and quit eating my food and buy me a pair of jeans with the food I'm spending on you and the money I'm spending on you. That's what you tell them. But a lot of y'all, I'm not into this helping grown ass kids. I pay for college, 100% pay for the college. That's enough for them to succeed in life. If they choose not to succeed, they ain't going to break me because I'm in Panama and other countries trying to spend the hell out of what I was going to leave you. The only thing I'm going to leave you with is a tax bill. Tax bill and maybe a house. But I'm not going to go to Panama and live like I should be in a trailer home. No. That's not me. Nope, I'm not going to do that no matter what. You work too hard, spend the hell out of it. You want to go have a steak that costs $100? Why you look at the price? When I go to a steakhouse, I don't look at the price. I look at the cut of meat and what comes with it. Because it is going to be what it's going to be, and I'm going to eat it. That's just me. Now, there's some, and a lot of people say, I retired. If you put out a YouTube video every other day, every other hour, like some of y'all do, you need the money. You have convinced yourself you don't, but everybody around you know you do. And that's the sad part. I don't look at YouTube. One reason I don't look at YouTube in Panama, because people talk about money on damn near all of them. They talk about money like that's the only things that matter. If you look at YouTube, all you see is money and medical. You might want to live that kind of lifestyle. Like I said, I'm going to be in Costa del Este. That's where I'm going to be. Because I ain't going to sit there and save money to die for to be in the bank. I'm not doing that. Now, let's go about medical. I know they got great medical because they got good teeth. I lived in England. You can look at the teeth and know the medical is not good. They got good teeth, so I know they got good medical. But I also ain't going there to try and get free medical. And, speaking of medical, that's one of the reasons I don't want to be around expats. Because I do not want to sit around all day long and talk about death. When you look at an 80 or 90-year-old person, I've been in Panama, they look like they're getting ready to die. I don't want to sit there and talk about coffins, Medicare Advantage, and Medigap. None of that applies to me. The one thing in my life I have splurged on my whole life, I've had the best medical plan you can get, and I carried it into retirement from the federal government. I've had kids born, I've had bills from overseas, and at no point did it ever cost me a penny. Now, did I pay more for my medical, than my friends and every people I knew? Yeah. But also, I'm a big believer in a PPO versus an HMO. I knew the difference when I was 21. I'm not going to sit there and beg a doctor or some physician, can I get fixed up by somebody else? No. I knew that I can go where I want to go. I don't even know what the word in-network means. I know people say, I'm in the network. No, I go where I want to go. I get fixed up where I want to get fixed up. My doctor take mine, and she told me, you got the best one in the world. You know what? It's easy to build them, and you get paid. I'm not somebody who's going to sit there and say, my leg's hanging off, my leg, my kneecap is busted up, and now I got 1.5 legs. Can I go get surgery? I'm not doing none of that. No. Hey, listen, doc, I got a cold. Give me something. It's all covered. Because medically, I'm 63 years old. I take no medication, period. No doctors ever prescribed their medication to me. None. And when you sit around with old people and expats, that's all they talk about. I am a stress-free person. No blood pressure medicine. I am stress-free. I enjoy life the way it is. I don't want to talk about your grandkids and great grandkids, boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't like them. I don't know them. They're not important to me. And they don't like you. Because you know what? Some of y'all been there 3 or 4 years and you have never had somebody in your family come visit. And when you did, you had to pay for it. My son, if I want to see him, he's going to use his vacation time to go to Italy, Germany, maybe even Panama, but he ain't going to pay for it. If I want to see him, I got to go over there to see him or pay for him to come down here because he's a smart kid. He knows that daddy ain't going to do none of that, so he knows that he ain't got to see daddy. And he knows that anything emergency, his mom and me will be on the plane right back. But he's a young kid, do your own thing. But medically, So, you know, like I said, the medical, I knew they got great medical because they got good teeth. But a lot of y'all got some problems that Panama can't solve. If you missing an arm, I don't care how much Panamanian water you drink, the arm ain't coming back. So my point is, y'all got medical problems that some people just can't fix. Panama can't fix some of your medical problems. And they damn sure can't fix y'all mental problems because a lot of y'all got mental problems. I'm on my 4th marriage. When did you decide that marriage ain't for you? When did you decide that marriage is not for you? Oh man, you know, my 3 step kids and 4 adopted kids and 3 natural kids breaking me. You think kids aren't free? You know, so like I said, medically, you know, that's going to stress you out. Worry about things you can't control. I don't worry about inflation. A lot of people do. Nobody I know. It is what it is. We can't control it. If you go in a restaurant and everybody got a pay raise, guess what? The price is going up. Okay? The price is going up. I've had 2 and 3 jobs at a time, and you know, the price goes up. So guess who got to pay for that? The person needing the service. And if you didn't think that was going to happen to you, you should have invested your money 40 years ago, 45 years ago, like I did. And today, inflation won't bother you at all. And if you are living off Social Security, you need to be in Mississippi. You don't need to go to another damn country because you just brought your broke ass to another country to show everybody now. Maybe you figure that they don't know me. They don't know I'm an idiot with my money. Because if you don't plan to save, you planning to fail. There is no way you should be coming to Panama for medical treatment, and they tell you it's going to be $3,000 or $4,000, and you ain't got that in the bank. There's no way. In your 50s, you should have made more money than you could spend. I did from the time I was 43. That's when I say, oh, the spending is a lot less than the earnings. At 43. Now 20 years later, I don't spend nothing. Actually I do. I spend a lot. I just happen to have saved a lot when I was younger and invested a lot. And so now I see the difference. Now let's talk about shopping. Shopping is not cheap. People say, I guess if you're buying clothes and certain things, shopping is cheap. For me, it's not cheap because I like to buy a lot of electronics and I like to buy a lot of modern stuff. Because here's how it works. If you get behind on today's technology, you just need to go ahead and buy your coffin now because you ain't gonna catch up. I don't care if you got a granddaughter or a daughter. I got no grandkids. That's a bonus to me. But and let me tell you why. When I go buy a drone or a camera, and I got 6 cameras. I got a DJI, and I got 2 Insta360s, and I got 3 GoPros. They cost the same damn amount of money they cost in the States. I go in the shops. When people say cheap, they talking about maybe clothes. You know, you buying that $5 dress over there. I don't know. But the things I like, when I look at the barbecue smokers by Traeger, same amount of money. Some places they even cost more. Matter of fact, the Traegers cost more. You know, but it ain't cheap. Like I'm paying $1,000 in the States. I'm gonna get it for $200. No. I'm gonna get it for $9.99 at the least, and probably more than that because they got a limited number of dealers who sell the things I like. So it's not cheap. But you can determine what's cheap to you based on you and your habits. I know what I like to do ain't cheap, and I know when I travel to other countries from Panama, it ain't cheap. It's the same price I get when I'm back in the States. The airline ticket don't change because I'm buying it in Panama. Now, People say, you can get a discount, you get this. Yes, I can. But I got to originate in Panama. Sometimes in other words, I got to buy my ticket in Panama. Sometimes I don't like doing that because where I'm going, I need to buy my tickets well in advance, and I'm not always going to be in Panama. Matter of fact, I was very upfront. My goal is to be in Panama about 3 months out of the year, but visit Panama about 30 times going to other countries. So shopping ain't cheap. And then you people talk about traffic. Something wrong with y'all. I'm from the Northeast. Traffic is always bad. Traffic is bad no matter what the hell I go to the Northeast. Even when I go down to Miami, even when I go to New York, traffic is what it is. If you got a problem with traffic, you should do some homework before you came. Take a tour. Go to PRT, and they tell you about all that stuff. Buy the guide. I'm not advertising for them, but I'm saying there's a lot of things they tell you that you ain't got to be a genius if you can read and write a little bit. Now, another subject people bring up, the weather. That doesn't apply to me because I'm not going to be here during the rainy season. I already know that. I'm not going to be here. So that's y'all problems trying to save $1.50. I'm going right back to the States. Yep, I'm going right back to the States. So that just me and the weather. Now, because I don't want to see a river come through my condo or house. I'm thinking about, I like Costa del Este, but also I like a house because I'm going to have my smokers. If you see smoke coming from a condo, you can say the old school travelers over there barbecuing some ribs and fish and chicken again. He got it going on with that brisket. Yeah, that's going to be me. Because like I said, a lot of people give you advice. They be wrong as hell. That's why I don't talk to a lot of expats. When I want to know something about Panama, first of all, I got a first cousin who married a Panamanian, and they come here every year. They've been married 30 years, almost as long as me. I got 35 plus. But I asked the Panamanians because Panama really is a country of it depends. But you get people who you don't ask no questions to giving you this damn advice unsolicited. Those are the expat experts. The expat experts. And they ain't had the situation you talking about, but they gonna tell you from third-hand knowledge how it was handled by somebody else. No, I go to a Panamanian. They can tell me how their country works. I don't need experts who've been here a day longer than me. Now, if I guess if I looked at a lot of the videos that y'all post, I guess I would see a lot of the answers to my questions. But also, I got a first cousin married to a Panamanian, and they come here every year, and all I gotta do is ask him, and he'll tell me. And he didn't grow up wealthy, not at all. No. But he lived in Cologne and Panama City, and he'll tell me, or he knows somebody who is going through that situation or been in that situation before already. And they'll tell me the Panamanian answer, not the expat answer. I've seen experts tell you about El Valle de Anton and never been there. How's that possible? You're an expert on a place you never been or never did. I don't know, but Panama got a bunch of them. I don't know. And like I said, I ain't going there. You got people who are alive and you got people who live. I live. Most people I met are alive, And like I said, my goal is not to hang out with a bunch of 80-year-olds and talk about funerals and coffins and Medicare and Medigap and Medicare Advantage. No. I like smiling, laughing, and giggling and having a good time. And like I said, I don't want to know about your problems. When you hang around a lot of Americans, you find out about their problems, whether it's politics, religion, whether it's race. I don't want to know nothing about your damn problems. I didn't care about them in the States. I really don't care about them in Panama. So you know what? We may never cross paths, but at least you know how I feel. So when you see me, you say, "Oh man, that dude got that hat on, man. Let me just keep going." Yes, that's what I want. Keep going, because I'm not going to stop until let's have a conversation. I'm not rude. I'm just not as friendly as some people are. So this is the old school traveler telling you this is it for Panama for now. Peace out.